Hi. I am here at Great Salt Plains State Park in Oklahoma. This post is on the camera that I use. I have the Sony Alpha 6000 mirrorless camera. It's similar to a DSLR, but it doesn't use mirrors to capture the image, so it's a lot lighter. And it's just a different option to a DSLR. It's like the next step up from like a point and shoot, so it's not super fancy. You can buy just kind of the lens body, or they usually come with a kit. I bought this with a kit from Best Buy. I think 3 years ago it was somewhere between $700 and $800. This lens, kind of your basic landscape shot. This is a telescopic lens, so if I'm trying to get something from further away, I'll pop this on. Both of the lenses during the day, I usually have a UV filter on them. And it just helps to screen out the UV rays so the sun doesn't wash out the image. I bring 2 batteries with me and I can charge them in the car. If you're out just for a day hike and you have easy access to a charger, 1 battery is enough, but for something like this trip, I've definitely relied on 2 batteries where I can't charge, every night. I have an SD card, I have a backup. So far I haven't had to use the backup. I bought this camera when I was living in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I was living there for kind of a short while, less than a year, but I didn't have any friends or family there, and my job was pretty stressful, so I kind of on a whim bought this camera one day, did the research and decided to buy a camera, and I bought this one, and it really helped my mental state. It helped me to deal with the stressful work and, not really having a social life there. I lived on a lake, in a lakeside community. They were man-made lakes, but there was a lot of waterfowl there. Previously, I had not been interested in birds at all, but there was a gang of waterfowl, which I'll show you some of the photos that I took. And so they were my first subjects. And what photography did for me then, and still does for me now, is it just keeps me really present in the moment. Because when you have the camera to your eye, and I usually do look through the viewfinder rather than the screen, there's nothing else in the world at that moment except you and what's going on within the image that can be captured, and the 4 corners of your screen, and you're bringing it together in this kind of cohesive image, which is sometimes what you'll see when you're just looking out, but sometimes if you zoom it or if you frame it, you're seeing something that you might not see otherwise. So here we are walking really nicely along the beach, but what happens if we get low? What a different perspective. Something that at least I didn't do before I started thinking about what kind of shots I might take. And it's really beautiful like this. Same over here, we have just a little bush or something, dried out bush, which might not be anything, you might not think about it at all. But what happens if we look at it like this? How pretty. Something I never thought to do, when I was just kind of walking on my own on the beach. So what I really like about photography, and what I try to share with you in some of the photos that I've been sharing, along through this trip is not just the scene that I'm seeing and that you would see just walking, but also some more details or different perspectives that might not be remembered just on a walk. So I'm going to share some photos with you of my photography throughout the years. It's actually 3 years this month that I've had this camera and have kind of been learning how to use the camera and the different options that you have when you're taking photos. And so because I have this setting here, I'm going to share with you photos of water scenes throughout the years, and I will kind of tell you when and where I took them. This photo was taken at one of the lakes near my apartment in Alexandria, Louisiana, and so were these next several photos. This was probably within the first month or two that I got the camera. This next photo is in Audubon Park in New Orleans, probably still shortly after I got the camera. This photo is on my first backpacking trip in the fall of the following, a year and a half later maybe. These photos are in York and Kittery Point, Maine, during the winter, obviously. This photo and the next two are in Spain, kind of in the north part of the country on the Atlantic side. This is at Chris's parents' house. This is in the Gila National Forest last year sometime. This is Bosque de la Pache. This is the Upper Emerald Pool at Zion. And here we have the Colorado River at Lee's Ferry. And this is the Jemez River in the Jemez Recreation Area. These next three photos were taken here this evening. I hope you have found this post interesting and maybe you've enjoyed seeing some of the photos. I know that a lot of you have shared some photos with me that I love too, so I know I'm not alone in the love of photography. Happy to have this shared interest with you, and feel free to share any photos with me in the future. I'd love to see them.